But he would ultimately went into the decision to option Tyler Anderson.
Well, I think there wasn't one thing, Taylor. There was a number of things that go into these decisions, but ultimately this comes down to a performance game. And we felt Tyler wasn't, where he needs to be to, make his next start. So he's going to go back to Albuquerque and, get back on the horse and try to get some consistency of making pitches.
Do you equate this at all to something similar to what you guys had to do with John Gray last year? Kind of a similar, not the
really.
specifics.
No, I think every case is unique because every player is different.
Okay. Sorry. I was going to ask you, what would you like, can you tell specifically a little bit what you'd like to see him get accomplished?
Well, I think it's nothing that he needs to work on mechanically. There's nothing he needs to work on mentally. I think just the consistency, and we've talked about it, pitch to pitch, right? Let's make some pitches and let's, truly string some pitches together, put zeros on the board and, gain some momentum, through his pitching. I think that's, any player who's in the big leagues and gets sent down, it's for, obviously a wide array of reasons. But in Tyler's case, it's, this is performance-based because he's healthy. He feels good. His arm feels good. Now he's got to put zeros on the board.
Last night he was saying that he felt that the Diamondbacks were under some pitches. Is there a tipping issue, or is it just?
I don't think so.
One more question.
Yeah, because he said he thought he was making really good pitches, and they seem to be able to jump on him, so they must be tipping him off.
I don't think so.
Chris Iannetta told me today, I asked him for his perspective, and he said he thought one of the things could be maybe Tyler's become a little too reliant on fastball change. Maybe he needs to incorporate the cutter or another pitch more, because Chris thought maybe he'd become too much of a two-pitch pitcher.
Well, I think that, we talk about his best stuff, and his best stuff is still fastball change. But, I see Tyler as a four-pitch pitcher. I think he can incorporate his curveball more. He brought it into the fifth inning a couple times. I think there has to be, a mix of all four of his pitches and not heavily reliant on the fastball change. Can a pitcher get through a game throwing fastball change? Absolutely. But in those games where maybe they're, taking good swings at those two, you have to mix in other things. But I think there's a certain percentage of curveballs that he can throw during a game. I think there's a certain percentage of cutters he can throw. But his best stuff is still his fastball change combination.
Who do you anticipate replacing him?
It's too early to tell. But I mean, if you want me to go through the litany of guys that we're looking at, that'll become apparent. I wish I could give you names. That's unfair to the guy.
The fact that you have a number of off days coming up, starting Monday, and then on the East Coast road trip, I think you've got 3, if I'm not mistaken. Does that give you some flexibility in terms of maybe going with a 4-man rotation for a while, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you'll need a 5th guy by next weekend at least once, right?
Yes.
But does a move like this send a message to the team?
Well, I think all players, Taylor, are aware of what's going on with the team. I'm not going to say this sends any message, but this does let players know that this game is about performance, and I think players are extremely aware of that. They really are. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but players know this is about performance.
The other moves that you made today, one injury related.
Yes.
Can you talk about the injury? Flexor?
I think there's the flexor pronator issue that popped up last night during Harrison's outing. It's too early to really give a distinct diagnosis yet. I think it has to calm down because he was a little bit revved up last night around the elbow joint and the flexor mass. So in a couple days, I think when some of the swelling's out and it's sort of resolved itself, where doctors can maybe take a picture, an MRI, we could have probably a clear diagnosis.
What have the reports been on Almonte and Johnson and the work they've been able to put in?
Well, I think DJ's only thrown a couple games. It's not much different than he's throwing the ball fine. They're healthy and their stuff is fine. I think in both cases, in the big league level, DJ's walks are a little too high, and I think Almonte you know, he's thrown some good games, but there's been some inconsistencies too. But we've seen Yancey do some good work here, and the AAA staff and Zach Wilson felt as though he was the guy to bring up.
And DJ down there, those 2 outings, the control wasn't the problem. It was up here, right? So maybe he got back.
Well, it's 2 outings, you don't know, but I think the longer term issue will be figured out, right? Through his performances. But that's one of the messages that we sent him when we sent him out, that he should be a strike thrower based on his delivery, his arm action. It should be conducive to throwing strikes, which he did last year. So we got to get to that point.
Buddy Nolan is in a really good place right now, not just home runs, but the doubles, putting the ball opposite field, doing. Are there keys to his swing that you can see that you think, well, he's about to go on a run?
I think when you see Nolan use the whole field, like a lot of hitters, when you see him lay off certain pitches, that tells me he's seeing the ball well. He has a great feel of what pitchers are trying to do to him. He takes advantage of the scouting reports, going into a game. So, when you see him do what he did yesterday against Holland, you see him hit the ball down the third base line. He's seeing the ball well. To go to the opposite field with the pitch away, to turn on the ball inside or a breaking ball or something soft. To square up the fastball, not missing fastballs. That tells me he's in a good spot.
But Trevor Story's added patience, or patience might not even be the right word. He's swinging a lot fewer pitches out of the zone than he used to. Is that part of what's allowed you to really count on him at the top of the
Well, I
lineup
think
there and take advantage of his speed?
I think with Trevor, that's something that over time it should even get better. Like we've talked about, this is an evolution of a young player. Basically into his his 4th full year. We're seeing great strides in pitch recognition and swinging at strikes and taking balls. You still see it a little bit with the breaking ball down below the zone, but it's much improved over the last couple of years. I think Trevor can profile anywhere at the top of the order. Second, third, fourth, depends. But we do like him at the top because of the speed element. I like the fact that he can steal a base and create opportunities to get a scoring position for Murph and Nolan and the guys after those fellas. So, he's a really good offensive player. He's got power and he's got speed. And last year he hit for a nice average. We've talked about he's on his way to becoming one of the best players in the league.
I mean, to have he and Charlie at the top, both of them who have power, both of them who could hit in the middle of a lineup, but both of them who can steal bases and run. It's like you have a cross between the old breed and the new breed at that point.
Yeah, they're two. You're talking about 2 all-star players, and that's nice to have. That combination is really hard on the opposition, really hard on the pitcher, hard on the the pitcher-catcher combination. It's just hard on the other side when you have that element. And David sort of profiles as that too, a guy with power and speed. When Desi gets going, power and speed. So that's what our lineup at the best, or our best team, when all guys are going well, there's a combination of a number of guys who have the power and the speed, and that's a really good combo.
So today is the particular day, as you know. If you had to name a horse, what would you name the horse?
If I had to name one horse, well, I'd have to see it first. Taylor.
What kind of details?
Right, yeah. I'd have to look at it first. Right?
So it's about seeing the horse and then just knowing what
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So if the horse
I'd have to
looked
meet the horse
If the
first.
horse looked like Jake, what would you name?
Yeah, right there.
So not good or fast.
Let me see.
Something involving pony.
Yeah.
Definitely not after George Brett.
I don't know. Maybe Jake the Great.